Brown 45! Brown 45! Hot, 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 hot!
You are listening to Any Given Sunday, Australia.
Yes, hello and welcome to the Any Given Sunday Australia podcast, the number one podcast in at least 3 households, 1 studio, American Football Australia head office, NFL Australia head office, ABC studios. Worldwide we are trending as we are every other week. Joining me in his palace that is the Western Wing at Danny Webb, AGSAU. How are you, mate?
Oh man, I am good. Things are getting spicy.
Well, down here, weather-wise as well, it is bloody spicy. I am spritzing in the lab. Hope it's been a happy and safe New Year to you and the fam. Danny boy, what'd you get up to for New Year's, mate?
Just popped over to a mate's place, little house party, quite impromptu, which was nice, and it actually ended up being a ripper night. Someone got crowned a beer pong champion. I'm not going to name names, but it may or may not have been Danny Webb.
D Webb, that's too obvious. Danny W. Nice, mate. It is 2025, and we're into week 18. It is. I don't know about you, but it feels like it's flown by pretty bloody quickly this season.
Well, we wait all year for the season to come around, then the season finally does come around, and next thing you know, you blink and it's gone. The season's over. Well, not over. We get into the crux of it, the playoffs, the exciting times. But I still like the week-to-week football. Luckily, we got one left.
We have one left, and with some wins in week 17s, you know, from the Vikings, the Bengals, the Dolphins, and funnily enough, the Giants, we have some meaningful games in week 18. Unfortunately, there is a lot of teams that have kind of sealed their spots. So, you know, resting of players, getting ready for playoffs and things like that will be likely, such as, I reckon Mahomes. I don't think he's been named as starting, but...
Just on that, the Broncos are paying $1.17 to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think
he's not playing.
Pretty sure he's out, yeah. Carson Wentz will be starting. And your man, the one I wanted to get the opinion of, your man Barkley, not playing, not going for the record. Thoughts?
So that's great. Like, it would be the biggest Nick Sirianni thing ever if he just turns around and be like, oh, joke's on you, and puts in all his starters. I'm hoping he doesn't, because banners and rings are way more important than records. And that's what this whole team believes at the moment. And that's what the coaching staff believe. And that's what Barkley's all for. He's like, if you put me in, I'll break the record. If you don't, well, that's fine too. And then at the end of the day, like you said, it was a shorter week back then, a shorter season. It was a 16-game stretch. And they've compared the stats between the 16 games, and he hasn't beat him. So is it really a record that he wants? He got really close. He's had the best season a running back's had in a very long time, which is great. But a ring's more important.
Yeah. No, I like that. And you're one of the teams. You can't move from the 2 seed. The Chiefs can't move from the 1 seed. The Bills can't move from the 2 seed. So there's a lot of teams that can't do much. So it would be interesting to see, you know, do the Bills rest players? I know the Chiefs come out and said, like, if we rest 5 or 6 players, starters, what does that say to the other starters who aren't getting rested? Are you not as important?
Well, that's the thing. You can't rest everyone, can you?
No.
So if you can't, are you just picking and choosing the ones that are more injury prone? Or you're just putting a team out there just to try and, you know, you've still got to play. You've still got to play this week's game. Like, it's still televised. It's still getting out there. You know what I mean? I don't know. It makes it super tough. I would not want to be a coach in this point, especially not a coach in Buffalo.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see who actually trots out. Makes it super hard. It's like week 1 betting. It makes it hard because you don't know actually who's going to actually be there. So... I don't know about you, Danny, but when I bet, it'll be games that mean something or have something on the line. They're the ones I'll be sticking to. We have some scenarios to work out, but I just want to mention, speaking of Mahomes, 15-1, and he's the first QB that's ever gone a record such as, and has not been picked for Pro Bowl.
Wild. And it's his first time as a starter to not be picked either. So in his 6 seasons that he started, it's the first time that he hasn't been picked. Yes, okay, he hasn't had an absolute breakout year and it hasn't been the insane Mahomes that we know. And the defense, as always, carries the Chiefs to get him to this point. But they were still 15-1. Yeah, one of them was a blocked field goal and a missed field goal and something else. There was all sorts of hoodwinks going on to make sure they got their wins. But they got their wins. I think it's wild. I think you should be in there. And I don't care what anyone says.
And
at me.
the shit thing is that he'll use that now.
Well, yeah, great. Nice one, NFL. Let's give him more fuel. Maybe
Give
they
him
did it
more
on
fuel.
purpose. They want the 3-peat.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
doesn't care, but fuck, he's just like, yeah, I do care.
Yeah, 100%. He'll do the MJ thing, being like, "Oh, they didn't pick me. Look, I'll show them." And he'll go out and throw for 400 and have 26 touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Very MJ sitting at the table, and was it the Utah Jazz coach was like, have a good game. He's like, yeah, fuck you. I'll have a great game.
Yeah, honestly, one of the best mentalities and best athletes of all time. Imagine if he played NFL. What could he have done?
Yeah, he'd been a good tight end, I reckon. Oh, get those mittens out. Anyway, some AFC scenarios we're going to start with, and the obvious one is for the 7th seed. The Broncos currently hold the 7th seed, Danny Boy, and they're playing the Chiefs. Carson Wentz and the Chiefs. And you said, what, $1.12 to beat them? Is that what you said?
I'm just going to double check that. But I am pretty sure that's what I had. But stand by.
But like you said last week, Bo Nix and they had the chance to actually seal it last week. Didn't get the job done. It was against Cincinnati in an absolute wild game. I think Bo Nix still, you have to, if you're a Broncos fan, regardless of what happens this week, you go, we're pretty fucking happy with how we've gone this year, surely.
100%. I reckon it was the best game all last week, and if we had more time and we're doing multiple episodes this week, we would have spoken about it. Probably would have spoken about it for the whole half an hour. Incredible game back and forth, and that overtime, Joey B just getting it done, but only just. Like, since he missed a field goal, which should have sealed it, and then instead of going for another field goal, put no trust in him, just threw a touchdown instead to Higgins. Incredible. Great game. But, shout out, the Bengals are on fire at the moment. They're playing really, really well. But shout out to Denver and Bo Nix. Exactly what you're saying. You got to have faith in this quarterback. He's a rookie, and he's out there with a very, very smart head on his shoulders and didn't make that many mistakes. He threw one interception, I think. But, overall, I'll be very happy with him and his performance. You were playing against an incredibly hot team that's super hungry. But back to them playing the Chiefs, yes, $1.16 favorites the Broncos are. They're playing at home. The Chiefs are going to rest everyone that they possibly can. Because even, I think D-Hop has some incentives later for this game, but it's a fair few receptions and a touchdown. I honestly don't even know if he's going to take the field.
Yeah, it kind of sucks a little bit, but I still think the Chiefs will go in there with that underdog mentality and think, we can knock them off and interdivisional as well, so can stuff up their playoffs. But
just on that, would they not prefer to not have the Bengals in the playoffs?
Oh, it's huge.
They know they can beat. They know they can beat the Broncos,
and they hate each other.
Cincy and Kansas City rivals. We're talking Burrow ahead. We're talking imagine if that ends up being the matchup because they beat the Broncos. They'd be kicking themselves. They'd much rather end up playing the Broncos.
Yeah, and I feel like they're a bit more confident against the Broncos as well. You see them twice a year. They play them that much that they know what they're expecting. The Broncos should have beaten them the first time. That was the block field goal.
Correct.
They could come out and beat them this time, and realistically should have them. Well, that's they should have 2-0 against them. Do you want to play them as well? Because they'll be the 7th seed, so if they win, they'll play the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think as the Chiefs, yes, that first game was much tighter. I reckon if they went in now with a little bit of changed mentality, as if I was Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid and the Chiefs, I'd rather play the Broncos, knowing that I know they should have beat him the first time. I just think facing Cincy with them being on the tear that they are right now is not worth the risk. Joey B is playing lights out. He had 400 plus yards and 3 touchdowns in the last game. And he's hit plus 3 touchdowns in his last 8 games. Throwing touchdowns. He's on fire. No, I don't want to face them. Give me the Broncos. Give me Bo Nix. Give me the Broncos that you tipped to go,
5-12, I think. I was close. I was pretty fucking close.
Yeah, you're backwards.
Yeah. So, moving on, the Dolphins. Let's say the Broncos don't get the job done. $1.16 is wrong. Chiefs win. Carson Wentz comes in, gets a W. The Dolphins have a chance now to jump the Broncos if they beat Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And it's come out this morning that it looks like Rodgers and Adams will be parting way with the Jets due to a disagreement with Woody Johnson.
Is that them parting ways, or is that Woody Johnson not wanting them back?
Woody Johnson not wanting them back because of an irreparable relationship.
Yeah, so they can't recover from this point because I'm assuming Aaron Rodgers would have gone in there and promised the world, being like, "Get me Adams, and I'll get there. I'll get us there. I'll get us there." Which is like you want your quarterback to have that mentality, but he just hasn't. They just haven't got it done, have they? The Jets were just being the Jets and just continually doing what we know them to do of late. I'm not surprised at all that Woody wants out or wants them to out and have a rebuild. It'll be more interesting to see who they pick up to replace him because they need.
That's the big thing because I don't think it's a deep QB class this year. Not as deep as it's been in the last few years. So it's not as if they can go to the draft and find someone where, and realistically, they haven't done that in the past very well. Even if they've got a good QB, Sam Darnold, they don't seem to make the most of it anyway.
Could we see the likes of Kirk O'Chains in the Jets?
We called this not long ago. Called it.
It's happening. It's happening. Is it any given Sunday, not curse, but predictions?
And if Sam Darnold somehow leaves the Vikings for more money, Rodgers to the Vikings, Brett Favre all over again.
Oh, mate, you can see the writing on the wall. It's almost too obvious. NFL script writers, make it more entertaining. Make us second guess ourselves. I want some Game of Thrones scripting in there. Not this straightforward stuff. We can read you like a book.
Again, we've got it. We've gone straight to the appendix and worked it out. The Dolphins got a pretty big win last week, especially with Tua and Waddle out. I don't know if you have the odds in front of you, but I'm presuming the Dolphins will be favourites against the Jets as well.
Yeah, they're only $1.80 though, because it is in New York, and I'm assuming Rodgers wants to probably increase his stock if he wants to go play somewhere else. He'll probably have his best game of the season.
And still chasing that 500th touchdown as well.
He'll be slinging him. I've got no doubt that he's going to come out and actually probably play pretty damn well.
It's the huge Jets thing that come out and absolutely destroy the Dolphins, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly right.
But that's, again, we say it every week, having these divisional round games right at the end, it just, you never know. And like a pick'em game by the sounds of it, $1.80 a piece, like quality game.
It's actually going to be one of the more exciting ones to watch. I know. Is it due to timing and schedules? No, they're on at the same time, which is great. So, we're not going to know until all these games are over all at the same time.
Well, they've got the Bengals, which is the last one, which we're about to talk about. They're first. They're on the Saturday. So we know if they win, that's more pressure on, obviously, the Dolphins and the Broncos. If they lose, then they've still got pressure because they've still got to get the Ws. But having them in chronological order, I like it. They've done well this week 18. The last one, Bengals need, if the Broncos and the Dolphins lose, which, again, is after their game, and they beat the Steelers, they do slide in on a 5-game win streak, which I think's second or third best at the moment. So, like you said, red-hot team throwing 400-plus pass yards. Looking pretty bloody good.
They're looking great at the moment. Yeah, okay, the Broncos game went to overtime, but it was a hot, exciting game to watch. I reckon they're going to get the job done against the Steelers. Are the Steelers going to put out their best team? Probably not, but they are. But then the Steelers are also chasing that number one spot in the AFC North, aren't they?
Yeah.
God,
again,
this week,
I'm pretty sure playing at the same time.
No, the Ravens are actually playing in the earliest slot.
Okay, so they'll know their fate. The Steelers will know their fate before they start, whether they can jump them or whether they stay where they are. So that's going to be interesting as well.
The Ravens are paying $1.03.
Put it on.
To beat the Browns.
Add it in the multi.
So the Ravens, I'm assuming, and I want to hope we can get this game locked up by halftime, and then potentially sit players as well, because everyone's going to want to have a little bit of rest, a little bit of health. You don't want to go out there and Lamar or King Henry go out and hurt themselves, because then your playoff chances are done. You might as well not make it. But they're going to want this AFC North probably more than the Steelers. They just got to get it done. They want it. They want it.
They want it. And especially where they've kind of up and down season for the Ravens. So, having that home field advantage is huge. We've seen it in the playoffs. It is huge. And the Ravens, I think, need it more than anyone else. They've had that really down patch in the playoffs. Playoff Lamar hasn't been good. So he would take that AFC North every day of the week. Like you said, wrap it up by halftime. And you think the Bengals get the job done against the Steelers? They are favourites. We're going to talk about it soon, but they are favourites.
And I'll tell you why I think the Bengals are going to get this done. Because once the Ravens beat the Browns, the Steelers are going to sit players. And the Bengals need this.
Yeah, because they can't change.
The Bengals not only are going in hot and hungry and absolutely playing incredible football, if only they were playing that at the start of the season, we might be talking about them very differently. Playing incredible football right now. So I think despite the Steelers resting players or not, the Bengals are still going to get this one done.
The only question I have about the Steelers, the Bengals, is obviously the defensive side struggling, but number one team in the league, the Lions, defensive struggles. Number 2 or 3 team in the league, Bills, defensive struggles. So it just seems this year is a very just go out and score 45 points and don't worry about what the other team's doing kind of year.
And we got to remember as well, the Steelers have just come off a pretty bad loss to the Chiefs. They did not look like the Steelers of the start of the season. They did not look good at all. And then you look at the Bengals, who have looked great in the past 5 games. Their offense is absolutely roaring. So if they're just going to play offensive shootout, I'm going to pick Joey B over Russell Wilson every single day of the week.
Which it looks like it's going to be. But like you said, I reckon the Ravens get the job done and then the Steelers sit a lot of players. So
and the Steelers defense,
it a little bit, but it makes it more juicy for the next day.
Yeah, and the Steelers defense, which was, the structure of the Steelers and always has been, have given up 27-plus points in 4 out of the last 5 games. They're slipping.
Interesting. On the NFC side of things, a game we are going to talk about, so maybe we just mention it and then we'll actually discuss it in a second. The Vikings versus the Detroit Lions for the number 1 seed. This is huge. The Vikings got the job done against my Packers at home, making it a 14-2 season for both of these teams. First time ever we've had 2 teams in the one division with such records. First time ever, obviously. We're going to have a number 5 seed with a 14-plus season, which is huge for the number 4 seed, which I can't remember off the top of my head who it is. Bad luck for them. Massive game, Danny boy. We love to see this in Week 18.
Yeah, we'll touch on it more in a little bit. But this is the first time since 1993. So I'm not going to give away my age, but that was before I was born.
Not me.
Yeah, not you. You're old as fuck.
Yep.
No, it's the first time that 2 teams in Week 18 or the final week of the season have been fighting out for that number 1 seed. Incredible. Love to see it. And they've put it as the last game, the schedulers, the script writers, have put it as the last game of the week as well. Perfect way to end. People are already talking about this like, it's a mini Super Bowl, essentially. It's a mini Super Bowl to see who gets this number 1 seed.
Yeah, we love it. And it is so huge. Imagine being like, I feel like for the Vikings, if they win, everyone's like, how good is this story? Detroit lose this and go from the best team in the league for so long down to the number 5 seed. Again, bad for the number 4 seed because these guys will be dirty, but does it almost feel like a bit of a fail the way that they're saying the best Lions season ever and you're still only going to finish the 5th seed?
The Lions are banged the fuck up, aren't they? Like, they are so injured. Then they're just holding out so much hope that, that they do get this number 1 seed. So then they can have a week off and then hopefully start bringing some players back. And they'll be like hobbling on the field. Like, their defense they're hurting. Their injury reserve list was massive. So it was a very tough way for them to finish the season. And a lot of them, as I've mentioned earlier, in earlier weeks, were bone breaks or like non-muscle related injuries, like freak accident related injuries. So like it couldn't even really be helped. People were shitting on the training staff. It's not really the training staff's fault when someone's breaking their jaw, arm, ribs, leg.
Snapping their leg. Yeah, that's bad training staff. You're right. And it looks like, so the Rams have wrapped up the NFC West or Tampa Bay / Atlanta, which we're about to talk to, the NFC South. If Tampa Bay wins, they can jump the Rams. So it's either going to be the Rams or Tampa. Bad luck for whoever's playing even if it is a banged up Detroit. They're going to come out and try and score 45, aren't they?
Yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see what happens with this NFC South. So Tampa just need to beat out the Saints, and it's done and dusted. But if they lose to the Saints, Atlanta need to top the Panthers.
Much improved Panthers.
I said that 2 weeks ago, and you shit on me for that.
No. They nearly beat you. That's what I was saying. You nearly fucking lost to the Panthers. They are much improved. The funniest thing, I think, coming out of the Panthers is a photo that I saw this week of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold as their QBs about 3 years ago. Both going on there have nearly locked up. One's going for the number 1 seed and one's going to be in the playoffs. Just says a lot about the Panthers and their QB room and their whole organisation.
Yeah, not an ideal organisation. I don't know what it's going to take to fix this. So Atlanta are paying $1.23 to get past the Panthers, and Tampa, their odds have been taken off the website I'm looking at. Interesting.
Probably too short. I think Tampa get the job done against the Saints anyway. Baker's red hot.
You'd hope so.
How good is Baker? I love an up and about Baker, and he wants to play playoffs. Did they make the playoffs last year? I'm not sure. But anyway, last team that he took to the playoffs fired in the next season.
So the Tampa Bay beat the Eagles last year in the wild card
You're right.
match.
But before that, so last team, he took the Browns, won the Browns their first playoff game in 160 years, and then they booted him. So he's a hungry man. I love seeing Baker up and about. But yeah, I do think NFC South's locked up with Tampa. But Penix Jr. has looked good.
Yeah, it was a smart move for the Falcons, as we said, to bench Kirk Cousins, because you really needed to see what Michael Penix Jr. was going to do, and he's gone out there and probably impressed people more than what they thought.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're all the playoff scenarios, but we mentioned that the Giants getting a big W last week has stuffed up their number 1 draft pick prospects. They've actually jumped right down. I've got the list now currently as it stands. We've got New England at 1, Tennessee at 2, Cleveland at 3, Giants at 4. So that put them right down with that win. Then we've got Jacksonville, Carolina, the Jets, and the Raiders. The Raiders is the one I want to talk about. They got a W last week. Always good to get wins. But every week you've been saying about how Shedeur Sanders has been tweeting, yes, go the Raiders, every time they lost, because it's very obvious that he wants to go there. They've got Brock Bowers, who's an absolute superstar. You know, they've been talking up Brady and Gronk type situations there. They get a W, and now they're down to the 8th seed. Like I said, it's not a very big QB draft, and I can pick at least 7 teams there that could use a QB, maybe not the Patriots. Are they going to have to try and get back up into the 1 or 2 seed? Like, have they stuffed up their chances to get Shedeur?
I wouldn't say stuffed up, because it will be interesting to see how this draft really plays out. Like you said, it's not the strongest of all draft classes, is it?
No. Not QB-wise.
Are we assuming that Travis Hunter is going to go first? With where it's sitting now with the Patriots, are they not going to take him?
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. You got a dual-sided athlete.
Yeah,
there's also a couple of big D linemen and that are up there as well. So I don't think that's set in stone, but it's definitely not the QB class we thought it was.
No, but I reckon Tennessee will probably take a QB. And then what did you say? Who was next? The Browns?
Yeah.
And then who knows what the Browns will do? Honestly, who knows what that organization's ever going to do? But then the team that I'm tipping that will take Sanders will probably be the Giants.
Yeah, and that's not a place you want to go to. I reckon he's come out previously and said, I'm not going.
Raiders. Just so we're clear, he wasn't saying go Raiders. He was saying praise God every time they lost.
Right.
So, because
otherwise making it too obvious, but it was obvious.
Otherwise, it's early colluding, isn't it?
Yeah. Because then realistically, so after the Giants, the Jags, Panthers, and the Jets, it's probably the Jets that are the next that are looking for a QB. So,
but then, what are we saying? Sanders and then Cam Ward as the 2 QBs that will probably go in the first round. Then after that, are you really drafting a QB out of this next draft class?
Not in the first round, I don't think. No,
not in the first round. No way. So the Raiders well and truly have shot themselves in the foot by winning that game.
Yeah, like you said, it's always good to get W's, but yeah, this one looks like one that they probably could have done without. So interesting to see. There is races at both ends of the table to see. I think the Patriots, well, who doesn't want, if you're going to have a season like this, the Patriots weren't expecting much this year, but to you walk away with the number 1 seed. I reckon they'd be pretty happy with what they're showing anyway. Even though it's a 3-13 season currently, I reckon they're still pretty happy.
Oh,
Funnily
for sure.
enough.
For sure.
We have a few games that we are going to talk about, but you've got some punting, some betting, some lines and things like that we want to hit this week that you just like the look of, purely on incentive side of things.
Yes, I do. Most importantly, I think this one should hit. 1, because they need a win, and 2, because it's worth the most amount of money. It's for Mike Evans. He needs 5+ receptions and 85+ receiving yards, and he'll get another $3 million. That is an insane incentive. So that's one I'll definitely be having a look at. Geno Smith needs 185 passing yards, and he's getting a fair bit more cash. And then the other one was Sutton for Denver, who obviously need a win to be in. He just needs another 82 receiving yards, and he's getting a big old chunk of cash as well. So I'd definitely be looking at all of those, having a real good sniff at them.
Yeah, at the overs. You mentioned Hopkins. He's 9 receptions, 140 yards. I don't think he's had anything like that this year to get anywhere like that. But even Joe Mixon, 107 rushing yards. That one you could be having a sniff at. 100 plus is always going to be paying pretty well. There's a lot of defensive side of the things, but I'm not sure I like betting on people getting sacks, especially when it's 2 and 3+ sacks. They're big days if they do get those.
A couple of them where it's like 1 sack or 1 reception is worth having a little look at as well. But yeah, just go out there and do a little bit of research before punting this week, because you definitely don't want to be punting on teams that are trying to lose.
Yeah, and you've seen how much QBs love getting their receivers, especially incentives. Like J.K. Dobbins even, 58 rushing yards. Definitely one to look at. Zach Ertz for Washington, if he has a day out, if he gets 9 receptions, 90 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns, it's worth another few $1 million for him. So, again, just have a look at. Maybe don't go the 9, but they'll be targeting him. He might get the 6 or 7+. So, yeah, do your research, but there's some cash to be made on people trying to make cash.
Always. So let's get them some cash, and let's get us some cash.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 games we're going to talk about is the 2 games we've already kind of mentioned. The 8-8 Bengals against the 10-6 Steelers. The 2.5-point favourites, the Bengals. But surprisingly, 54% of punters are on the Steelers at $2.13, mate.
Which is, I find interesting. I'm assuming that is relatively juicy. Like, I'm not going to say no to $2.13. I just can't see the Bengals with the form that they're on. I'm tipping Cincy going to go into Pittsburgh and take this out. And I spoke about it heaps before. So what's your thoughts on it?
I think if you're going to bet on the Bengals, get on them early, because, like you said, if the Ravens get the W, if they haven't already, some of the Steelers will be sitting. So, like I said, the Bengals are just so red hot at the moment. The Steelers, their defense, predominantly a great rushing defense. The Bengals have been 250+ yards, 8 games in a row. So it's not necessarily that they're going to kill you on the running. So, yeah, I think the Bengals do get the job done. So if you're going to bet on them, get on them early, because they are going to plummet, especially when the Ravens get the W.
And the Ravens will. That's the thing. So it's interesting that the money line is like this at the moment.
At 2.5-point line, purely because it's a meaningful game for the Steelers for the moment. If the Browns come out and absolutely somehow pull off another win, which they've already beaten the Ravens this year, if they manage to do that again, then shit's going to get real.
It'll be insane. It'll be great for us as far as watching is concerned. But I still think whether the Ravens win or lose, the Bengals, with the way that they've been firing and the Steelers' defense really struggling of late, I think the Bengals are going to get this done no matter what.
One thing I would look at, though, George Pickens. The Bengals defense, like we said, hasn't been great. They'll be targeting him a fair bit. So I'd be looking at him for receptions and yards if you wanted to look at that side. You've said the Bengals. Do you at the 2.5 as well? Add a little bit juicier?
Yeah. 2.5 is fine, because that's a field goal. There's probably more than a field goal in this game. But if they can just win by a field goal, I'll take it. 2.5, perfect. Perfect line for this game.
I do think the Bengals will get the job done. Again, regardless we would like to see it be a bit more of a contest. If the Browns somehow pull out an absolute... Imagine the Ravens lock up the AFC North because the Browns beat them and then the Bengals beat the Steelers.
It would be insane.
That's the kind of season the AFC North's had.
Oh, for sure. It has been wild up there.
Another interesting thing to come out of this, if it does happen, if the Bengals do manage to get in, everyone's been saying, how good is the NFC North going to have? Well, we've got 3 teams in the playoffs. That'll be 3 teams from the AFC North in the playoffs too.
Which, honestly, what has that ever happened before?
Not on both sides.
Insane.
Is that saying more about how weak the AFC side has been?
Ooh, I like your thought.
Like getting 3 teams that are 11 plus wins in, you're like, all right, they've fucking played pretty well. But you're going to have 3 teams that the Bengals at most are going to be a 9-win team, which is still a good season. You're 50% or 500. But yeah, I reckon that says more about how shit especially like the South, have been on the AFC side.
Well, we just went through the top draft picks. And was there any from the NFC? Just the Giants.
Yeah. Just top of my head, because I've already gotten rid of it. Yeah. We know what, 4th. So, that's my take out of that. It's been more how bad. But yeah, huge for the Bengals if they do make it. But I reckon it says more about how. Even the fact that Miami's in it and they haven't had their QB for 3/4 of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a slightly weaker conference, isn't it?
Good at the top end, though. Real good top end. The other game to talk about, the 14-2 Vikings and Lions playing off in Detroit. 2.5. Again, only 2.5 point favourites for the Lions. This could be an absolute... I don't know what the line is, but I'd be bashing the overs because this is going to be an absolute feast of points. 65% of people are on the Lions at $1.65. Incredible game to finish the season. It's actually the second time in the last 3 years the Lions have been involved in the last game of the season.
It's going to be an absolute thriller. The Lions have been on the up and up for multiple seasons now. They're finally sniffing at this 1 seed. I don't think they're ever going to want to let this go. The 2.5 line, very fair, because no one expected the Vikings to do what they've done this season. And they took care of your Packers easily enough, I'd say.
2
It
points.
got close towards the end because you had a nice little comeback, but realistically, that was the Vikings game.
I agree with you. It was over at halftime.
It was done. It was done and dusted. And the Packers were a good team this year, and the Vikings very comfortably got through them. The Sam Darnold JJ connection was something I never expected to happen. They weren't even planning on starting Sam Darnold, were they? It was JJ McCarthy until he injured himself. Correct. And now there's already talks that JJ McCarthy, they might be taking like trade offers for him because they want to keep Sam Darnold. I don't believe that.
Haven't signed him yet, though. Darnold's still a free agent next year.
That's what I was about to say. There's a lot of media hype around that, I reckon. There's a lot of smoke. But when there's smoke, there might be fire. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this game, honestly, is going to be such a blockbuster. I'm so excited for this one. I'm going to take the Lions because they're playing at home, and I think MCDC will just get them absolutely roaring. Oh, nice pun. Pun intended. Get them absolutely roaring for this one. And I reckon they'll take it home. But it'll be tight. It'll be high scoring. It'll be thrilling. And I can't bloody wait.
Yeah. I actually think the Vikings are going to come out and win.
Wow.
At the Lions, yeah. Just, I don't know, something about the Lions. And I was watching something on maybe NFL Network or something the other day. And the Lions pulled out it was one of Jameson Williams' touchdowns. I think it was to St. Brown, and he flicked it back, and Williams around the back and took off. It was incredible. And that used to be the stuff that you saw once every couple of weeks from the Lions, and you're like, yeah, how good. This is the kind of stuff they can do. Now it feels like they have to pull out a play like that every week just to ensure that they can keep the ball moving. Where I don't know if you want to be relying on trick plays to be getting you down the field, where Goff has been incredible, but I don't know, it just feels like I reckon the Vikings are feeling just like the Mahomes-led Chiefs, that they're not getting enough credit being 14-2. So I reckon they're feeling a little bit underdoggish. Obviously the line is underdoggish. So, yeah, I don't know. I just reckon the Vikings have just got something about them. A better defense, purely because the Lions are banged up. The Vikings' defense is really sneaky good. So I don't reckon the Lions will move the ball. The banged up 49ers put on 400-plus yards against the Lions and 30-something points. So JJ, like you said, JJ on fire. Jordan Addison on fire. I think he makes the JJ connection even better because there's another option. Aaron Jones just doing what he needs to. Hawkinson's still grouse. I don't know. I reckon
Vikings are on a 9-game win streak. 9-game win streak. So they haven't dipped, where the Lions have only won their past 2. So they had a little flutter, lost the game. It's hard. It is hard.
It's great game to finish the year. Up in Detroit is definitely why they're the favourites. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of fluttering some $2 on the Vikings. That'd be what, $1.90-ish? You got it in front of you?
I do have it in front of me. They are... That is not the right game.
Got the ice cream man going in the background here. I've got to hurry up this, mate. I've got to go get ice cream. It's 40 degrees here. I'm fucking...
They're $2.25.
Oh! I don't know whose pick it is, but that's my Any Given Sunday pick of the week.
You can have it, mate. You can have it this week because I've already tipped the line, so you can have it. But I agree with you. I might even back it, despite me thinking the Lions will win. But $2.25, and it's like they're both going to be going out super hungry. You got to take it.
Yeah, it's a grouse game to finish, and something about this Vikings, I like them. I don't like them. I hate them, but I like them in this game. So, yeah.
It's funny because the Vikings are like the Commanders to me.
Yeah.
Love them as a team. Just don't want them in my division.
Nah, that's it. Fucking shit guns. But, yeah, it's a good way to finish. I'll even take the line. Oh, no, that's a plus line for them, so I'll give them -2.5 and see what happens. It'll be up to $2.50.
Now we're talking real juicy.
Yeah. No, it'll be a good game. And, yeah, I'd be looking at passing overs for especially the Vikings. Darnold loves to throw the ball around. JJ Addison's always about that 60 yards and always dominates it for some reason. So I'd be looking at him too.
I'm liking it, mate. I'm liking everything you're putting up.
Good way to finish the season. We'll be back. Hopefully, Charlie, he's been a busy man. Apparently, he's got other jobs. So, this time of year, hosting everything. He'll be back next week. You'll be back next week. We'll have a incredible wild card weekend coming up. Great episode, mate. I love your work.
Always, mate. Always a ripple when we get to this point of the season. And it's good that there's still so much on the line.
You can bring us out. I'll let you bring us out today.
All my players are rested.
Yeah,
all my players are rested. You can have it.
We're playing for the 6th seed. So, actually, that's a very good point and something we should probably look at. If the Packers... It might not even matter if we win. There's a big chance we finish the 7th seed and play the 2 seed, which is the Eagles.
Holy shit. Now we're talking. Now I told you things are getting spicy.
Yep.
Any Given Sunday spicy.
We might have to do some kind of watch party.
Yeah, 100%. We are due a watch party as well. Actually, let's say overdue.
Yeah, we are. Love it. I actually kind of want the 7th seed just so I can fucking play us.
Yeah, we're so good. I can't wait to beat you just like we beat you in Brazil.
Shut up, idiot. All right, mate. Have a good weekend. And as always, go Pack, go.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fuck you.